all around the middle, down the legs and everything. And the guy came back to talk to him about it, and he says, man, here's the good news. You are healthy as a horse, heart-wise. Yeah, okay, that didn't sound right. What's the bad news? He says, you got a tumor that big on your kidney. I said, oh, okay. What do you do about that? He says, I just happen to have been able to book you into the brand new UCSF Cancer Hospital in San Francisco. Since they just opened the doors, they have space. You get down there right now if you're... Oh, hell yeah, right out the door. So the second part of the good news was they had this great operation where they went in this side and carved that thing off beautifully. Told me it was the best operation. You were a good candidate, all that stuff. The bad news was the very next day I had a reaction to the anesthesia that put me in for an extra week. And I'll tell you, my wife said I was talking in tongues, but she always says that. I don't know if that's normal or not. So on the one hand, I got to look at one of the best hospitals in the world. On the other hand, I had the worst position to look at. But that was 2 weeks ago, and they say it's a 6-week recovery. So if I seem like I'm wincing once in a while, then it's no big deal. So I'm trying to get used to all that stuff settling. Narcotics are great. I will put down nobody's narcotics. Whatever you're on is good. In fact, I'm thinking, did I get a prescription for that? It really is amazing. So you have a little pain or something, you take one of these things, boy, you're cool. So in any case, I did take one earlier, and I'm trying to get rid of a little bit of pain, so it'll get better as I go along. I've got Caltrans coming. Did they show up? We got Caltrans here. And I have people from Dodd's office. Are they here? People from McGuire's office. We have McGuire. Okay, thank you. And we'll wait for Dodd. But I made the mistake of telling them that it was at 6:30 because originally it was 6:30. Somehow I got changed to 6. I think I was the last to know. In any case, I was in the hospital, so I didn't know. But the point was I wanted those folks to be here and to hear some of the discussion, because I think that Lucerne's issues of plight is really of statewide importance, certainly countywide importance, and certainly Lucerne's most important issues. And these are the kind of issues that we have to deal with the Lucerne-style community. It's 6 o'clock, and what I'm going to do is try to get as many things done with people who have come here to talk for us. Do I have my highway patrolman here? I don't have him yet. Okay, I'll get him a little bit later. I had a highway patrolman coming to talk about the off-road vehicle activity up in the back hills, and I wanted you folks to talk to him, make him aware of what you think is important. They're here to listen. Yes, sir.
I just showed up. I thought the meeting started about 6, and I hear the speaking. I have no idea who you are. I've only been up there about 7 months.
Yeah, I was going to start right at 6, and guess what? It's exactly at 6, and so I will start right now. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Steele. I'm the District 3 Supervisor. This is a town hall for Lucerne. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you.
This is about you. This is about Lucerne. It's about our county. It's about our district. District 3 is absolutely the best district in this county. And I don't mind. I even invited the other supervisors here to hear that. They said, no, we know what you're going to say, and so they didn't come. So you know what I'm doing. And I keep going over there trying to steal business from them and bring them over, and so they know where I'm coming from. I've been talking to some folks that want to move into this district with their business from the Bay Area. We do have an advantage for them because of the land prices, the ability for them to find labor. They actually believe that we have labor up here and they can move their labor in from the Bay Area, and they're better off because when they pay them their wage, it goes farther for them. And that's the way I've been trying to sell this district. So I am actively talking to 2 businesses right now trying to get them to move up here. Just to, yes sir?
I have another question. Recently there was a meeting in Lakeport County about the water problem, right? And right after that, the original Friday meeting that we had scheduled here was delayed for a week. Was there any relationship to that meeting, to why it was delayed another week?
The meeting that was going to be here last week was this same meeting. I delayed it because I was in the hospital. And I just got out of the hospital, so that's why we had it tonight. The other meeting that we were going to have, the other meeting we did have was in Upper Lake, and that had to do with the loss of the bank up there. And as you know, in District 3, the entire 15,000 people that are in District 3 only had one bank, and now it's going to be gone. The news I will tell you is we've been working hard to get them to change their mind with the understanding that they probably wouldn't, and they didn't. But they were asked to delay the departure for 6 months while we work on trying to get another banking facility into at least Upper Lake or in the North Shore or somewhere. I'd love to have them come here with CERN, but North Shore seems to be the area where they want to be. So we'll have another meeting in about 2 months in Upper Lake in order to bring those people, all of the banking facilities together and meet the town. So this is important to you as well. So come over there, ask for an ATM over here, ask for whatever it is you'd like to ask for. Yes, sir.
Well, what I was looking for, I guess, is I understood that the particular subject you were going to bring up in Lakewood was talking about taking over the water system here in the turf, making it a city-owned or instead of a private owned. And what I found really surprising was I read nothing about what happened, and then all of a sudden the meeting that we were scheduled for last Friday was delayed. I wonder if you could summarize maybe just a few words. I'm not looking for particular.
Could you wait for a while because we're going to get to that topic? Would you please? That is one of the topics we're going to get to. Let me excuse me.
Like that.
Yeah, hold on.
I want some answers.
Okay, you got answers. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about, I was trying to explain what it is we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the off-road vehicle activity that's up here, describe the paper subdivision plot plan that's been passed by the board that hopefully will take care of that. I was hoping for my highway patrolman to be here so I could bring it up at that time. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, of course, was the recent AB 327 effort to get a apportionment from the Wildlife Preservation Fund for $2.4 million to do some work on the lake. That's a little bit stalled, even though it got out of committee, it's a little stalled because they had to put a kind of a poison pill in there for purposes of making the funding correct. They won't be able to get it out of the preservation fund. So I was over in Sacramento a couple of days ago. That was a tough trip. But I was over in Sacramento a couple of days ago testifying at the legislature, and they did pass it out of committee. And I described just how unique we are in the state, in fact, in the United States. Because if you look at it one way, California has more species in it, it's more species rich than all of the other states in the United States. And if you look at the 58 counties, which county has more species richness than all of them? And so, in a way, I mean, if you take that logic, we're actually better situated for having people help us maintain this treasure, something that's more expensive than we can maintain by ourselves. And so that's the effort I've been trying to make, is to turn that conversation around and say, you know, this is as much your problem as it is ours, so help us out here. And so that's what we're trying to do, the 2.4 just to start. On May, let's say on April 23rd, we're going to have some people from the legislature helicopter over here, go around the lake, look at it. They haven't even know where Clear Lake is, for Christ's sake. So we're going to have them come over here, look at it from a helicopter. They're going to land in the field. We're going to have a field presentation, tell them what it is they're looking at. Then when they take off and they go back, going out, they'll be able to understand what it is they're looking at. So that's going to happen April 23rd. On May 8th, we're going to have a meeting with what we're going to call the Regional Managers Committee. it's the Resource Managers Committee. And this meeting will be a restart of an old committee, but it's reconstituted. This is something I'm trying to get going so that the key state and federal agencies come to us for a meeting where we take the lead and talk about what's going on here and make ourselves important by the virtue of inviting them here. But in order to get this done and make it part of their interest, I've talked to Senator Dodd and Assemblyman Dodd and Senator McGuire and asked them to do something for us specifically. Because this is an old agency trick. And as some of you know, I was 30 years in an agency. And I know this works. At a certain time of year, within those agencies, they have to get the budget passed. And the agencies all work for the executive branch. Legislature passes the budgets. So if the legislature during the year asks for a favor, and it's very specifically something that can happen, you bet they'll do it. So I said, here's what I think you should ask for. Ask these agency heads to actually come to that first meeting. And you'll be darned just how many people said yes, because they know that the budget's coming up. So we should have a pretty good turnout for that. And we'll be talking about during that meeting how we'd like to proceed forward. But we won't want any more agency heads, we'll want their experts. We don't want them, we want their experts. We want them to know why we want their experts here, so they'll get the support to come here. So that's the scale that we're trying to operate down. So that's what's actually going on. And then also, I wanted to talk about tonight the Lucerne water situation and where we are, because that's of everybody's interest. And explain to you how I'm approaching this to the extent I can explain it to you in words that won't upset the apple cart. Because I'm dealing with a private sector, public sector interface. And having been in both the private and public sector and been in that interface before, it's very, very delicate if we want to do this the lowest cost way and the fastest way. So I'll describe as much as I can to you and try to lay it out in a timeline and where I think we'll be in a year or 2 years, and if we all work this just right. So let's see, I think I got it all in. Yes, ma'am.
My issue has something that really affects Lucerne completely in general. Businesses coming in, everything. We have a big meth problem in Lucerne. They are manufacturing it and selling it all over the town. I was never aware of it until my daughter moved up here with me and got a job at Tower Mart, and all the people coming in to buy the glass cigar cases so that they could smoke meth. And she was just, it's unbelievable how many there are in Lucerne.
It's actually all over the county. Lucerne certainly has got its share. And I've been talking to the sheriff about it. There is some special task force. He is spooling that out. A lot of things I wouldn't be able to talk about.
I've given some information on a couple of locations.
Well, if you call in, they will put you in touch with someone that they would like to hear from. But I've been passing a lot of information forward myself. And they are doing a very large investigation so that they can have all of that.
I read about the gang.
Yeah, all the gangs. So I've got a gentleman here who's actually, they don't get overtime for this, and he's been working a hard week, and this is from Caltrans. I would like him to be up here to speak so that I can let him go instead of holding him. And basically, this has to do with our overlay project. Can you,
Can you turn the PA up a little bit, please?
Is it loud as it goes?
Hey, everybody move around.
Okay, Jim? I'm doing fine. I'm just like, how lucky to be upright. I love it.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Alan Escarda. I'm the construction engineer for Caltrans for Lake County, and I'd like to start off and just thank Jim for the opportunity to speak tonight, let you guys know what Caltrans, what work we have planned for this summer for Lake County. And maybe I ought to give Jim a hand just for showing up.
I have one question though. I want to say, construction engineer. My daughter is a civil engineer. degree from Santa Clara University. Do you have a particular degree?
The question is, do I have a particular degree? Yeah, I have a degree in environmental engineering, but I have a license as a civil engineer. I've worked for Caltrans for 27 years. From Eureka, I've worked here in Lake County for the last almost 8 years. I think I'm starting to know the issues.
Degree then?
It's environmental engineering.
Environmental.
And I'll give a little background, and then I wanted to talk about the projects we have coming up here for this summer. I did have handouts in the back there. They're up there, where you come in. And if you take those, it'll be a little bit more detail, and it has my phone number on there. So if you have questions later on, you can always get to me. So the good news is we're going to do an overlay project from Clear Lake Oaks all the way to Nice. The bad news is we're going to do an overlay project from Clear Lake Oaks to Nice. So the project has been a long time coming. Pretty much what the intent is to resurface the asphalt. Now there's some areas that are in really bad shape. We're going to have to dig those out, maybe up to half a foot, and then come back and do a final lift of pavement. We're going to use rubber asphalt, which we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's a really good way of stretching out the resource. Rubber asphalt, you can put down half the thickness and get the equivalent amount of strength as our old asphalt, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put the normal lift size that we've always done in the past, so hopefully it'll last longer. And surprisingly enough, the rubber asphalt is quieter. So if you drive through Lucerne now, it's a pretty bumpy ride, right?
Yeah.
So we're hopeful that when we get done, we hope you guys work with us. We're going to be out there a long time. We're going to start up. I really appreciate you taking care of it, go through our work zones.
How long are they going to be doing this project for?
Pardon?
How long are they going to be doing this for?
Well,
Talk about traffic.
yeah, the question was how long are we going to be out here doing this project? The contractor has what we call 140 working days. In my opinion, we're probably not going to get finished this year because we're going to do a little extra work. We're going to dig out all those failed areas and put down additional asphalt. I don't want to come back in 3 years and see it failing. The resources are so limited now. We used to come out and do this every 5 or 6 years. Now we can probably come out and do it every 10 or 12 years. So I'm out here, I'm going to try to make it as good a product as we can. So if you bear with us, we're going to be working mainly at night, and it's going to be kind of operations that are going to be disruptive. We're going to be cold planing and paving. Question there?
Quick question, are you going
10
to
years.
Nice or through Nice? You going to the far end of Nice?
To the south end of Nice, Sarah Road, S-A-Y-R-E.
So everything's been chewed up,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna get done.
right.
Alan, would you talk about the safety features that we agreed to put in?
Well, we've got some concerns from people here in Nice, basically down near the north end by, by Morrison Creek Bridge. The concerns were that a lot of people felt there wasn't enough room on the shoulder. They would take their scooters, they'd come up to that very narrow bridge, and cars are coming really fast. We working through Jim, we had a meeting, they brought our traffic safety division out and did a speed survey. They found out that the radar feedback signs we have where you enter Lucerne, they work for me, I see them, I slow down, but I guess not everybody does. The prevailing speed really doesn't slow down until they hit Morrison Creek Bridge where it's a choke point. So what we're going to do is we're looking at restriping the lanes from the standard 12-foot to 11-foot, widen the shoulder, give you a little bit more asphalt for people on the scooters that can travel up and down that area so they feel a little bit safer, have a little bit more room. Wider shoulders are about the safest thing we can do on the highway. It really is a real big safety improvement. We're also looking at some other striping improvements that we can do in the vicinity, and we're going to add more signs to alert people to slow down as they come in.
What effect is the restriping going to have on semis?
Well, nothing essentially, they'll still be able to get through. I mean, it's 11 foot to 12, you probably won't even really notice it. What it's really gonna do is give a wider shoulder for pedestrians and bicyclists.
Are you guys still going to try to, at one point in time, I heard that they were going to try to reroute all the trucks around to Highway 29 because the road base is much better over there?
Well,
Are you guys going to try to reroute?
The route concept is to route truck traffic around Route 29 and not 20, and there's signs up already, you know, requesting that, but we all see that trucks do ignore it at times and come down 20. But that is the ultimate plan, go around 29 with the
All right,
trucks.
I have another issue with the trucks. I live in Lucerne Riviera, and we have a long straightaway where Davis Park is, and in front of the second Riviera and the first Riviera, and the speed limit there is 45, they go 60.
Yeah, this is a common problem, you know, where Main Street is the highway. And speed is a tricky thing. It's vehicle code is not something that Caltrans is,
Right.
you know, we have to work with, they do speed surveys and they take the 85 percentile, how fast 85% of people normally travel. There's things we can do to slow them down. We call it traffic calming. We have a future project coming through Lucerne about 2 years from now. And basically the things we couldn't address with this overlay project, we're trying to get out here and just pave the highway. It's going to be about $20 million total. We want to grab that before somebody else takes it. So what we've done in the meantime is all the things that would have slowed us down, we've delayed it to a future project. So they're going to look at what we call ADA ramps at the curbs. We're going to look and see how the impact of this restriping and signing work. We're going to look at possibly doing bulb outs at corners, things that calm traffic down as they go through your community. And what we should do is work with your local APC, that's your local transportation agency here in Lake County, and with Jim, and have maybe some series of meetings like this where you guys can give your input on what you want to see on your main street traffic going through. And this is a great opportunity. You know, it's about 2 years from now, so you have time now to get your ideas and concerns into this future project. So we'll work with Jim and Lake APC and get the word out and have some meetings so that you guys can submit your questions.
Sir, I have a question about the truck.
Well, there's a lot of questions out here.
This lady was next, I'll try to keep track. Right here.
Right here.
I just wondered if there was a opportunity to request some residential streets that are in really poor.
The question was, is there any opportunity to repair residential streets? Well, Caltrans only works on the state highway. Your Lake APC, they're headquartered out of Lakeport. Those are the folks you want to talk to, and I know that they sent out a survey about a year ago asking what the priorities in your communities were. One of the big ones was trying to get bicyclists route around the lake. That's one of the ones I remember. But work with them for your local streets and roads.
Yes, my name is John Nelson. I moved up here from Rome 3 years ago. I live across the street on 3rd Avenue, across from the post
Gonna
office.
cut me off again?
And every day I take my dog for a walk in Alpine Park, so I cross Highway 20. Now, I don't know if you've ever observed the speed these cars are going into Highway, but I have one suggestion: install speed bumps.
You can make that suggestion in these future meetings, whatever, you know, let's put it all on the table and see what makes sense. Who is next? Excuse me, back here.
My question is, I've driven for many years, and it is very dark as you go around 20 to Clear Lake and all around here. Can't they use, and I know they have brighter reflectors between the roads, they make them with a really bright, when you're driving, you can see them.
You're talking about yellow stripes, the bottom
Yellow
dots.
stripes, there's a way they do it, I don't know how, but they do it, and it's a lot brighter, and since it is so dark, and there is no lighting out around the hills.
I agree. Let me just explain one thing. I'm with construction, so my job is we send a transportation project out to bid, and the private firm gets it, and then my job is to administer that contract and see it's built according to the contract and safely. We have a maintenance division here in Lake County, one in Clear Lake Oaks and one in Lakeport. They have limited resources, but when we see areas that can need improvement, we're having trouble seeing the lane lines at night, they have the resources. They can come out and restripe or maybe replace some of the dots that losing their reflectivity. When we get done with our project, we're going to have all new striping, all new dots, and then I give it to maintenance. They're my customer when I hand it off to them. So if you have concerns about that, my number's there. I know that we talked to our maintenance department. I don't always drive around this area at night, so any concerns like that, you can give to our local maintenance people. And they live here. They want to make sure this is safe. That's their job, so they're dedicated. They'll do what they can.
Yeah, you know what, actually, that's why you put me here, so just give me a call, I make a note, I give them a call, and that way I can kind of stay on them, so we can do it that way. Let's let Alan go, and thank you very much for coming.
I appreciate it.
I see my two badge officers here, if you guys would come up, I appreciate it. Don't be afraid, you have guns.
Take two.
Of course, you are in there, sir. We do. It's okay, that was like, we changed the time. Anyway, hi everyone. We've been having a off-road vehicle issue up in the past, or up in the high country here. I asked these guys to come down here, explain the law. I had people calling me all the time saying, why can't we get these people to stop tearing up the hills? And then I started getting calls from people saying, why can't we let the kids have a good time? Because what else are they going to do? So now I've got two sides of the community, one side not understanding what really the issue is, and the other side not recognizing the importance. So I need to tell you that part of the problem we have in the lake is the sediment runoff into the lake. We have high phosphorus soils. This turns over into a high phosphorus lake bed cycling, and that causes our cyanobacteria to suffer. So we can't have people going anywhere they want. We really do have to have this controlled and let the grasses be grasses. So these guys I asked to come down here to describe the law and why they race around the neighborhood. I guess you do. So what's your name, buddy?
My name is Hector Price. I'm the commander for the CHP on this community here in Lake County.
Can't hear.
Can't hear.
Yeah, if you can raise it up. I need a mic expert. There you go. I'm sorry, I have to sit.
I'll try it again.
Introduce your guy, too, that's with you.
Yeah, well, my name is Hector Price. I'm the commander of the CHP office here in Lake County. And this is Acting Sergeant Josh Dye. So he actually has lived here in the community a long time. So we were asked by the supervisor to come and hopefully answer some of your questions, some of the things that we can do, and there's always something we can do, in my opinion. We can work also with the Sheriff's Department as well. But in speaking to some of our folks, I've only been here about 8-9 months, and my understanding, this is kind of a long-term problem that we've had here in this part of our community. So, whoever, I'll take your first question, and we can kind of begin to explain, what we can do. Yes, sir.
I live up on Foothill Drive, and that's one of the main accesses being used by the on-road vehicles, mostly motorcycles, none of them street legal. We have managed to get it slowed down a little bit, where they're not going through about 40 miles an hour. But is anything being done to stop them using that as the access point?
Well, the way I see it or understand, there's kind of two issues here. One, the vehicles being on a public road, and so then they have to be street legal. So those particular vehicles, we can take obvious enforcement on. And then you have those that do not have to meet street legal type of criteria because they're off-road. And actually, technically, they have to be registered for off-road. So you can take enforcement on those. But if we catch vehicles on a road, on a street, like Foothill, then there's a lot of things we can do. Obviously, if they don't have proper endorsement, the vehicle's not registered, if they have modified mechanical equipment like smog, or pipes, we can take enforcement action on that.
There's not much presence, I guess is my point.
Okay.
There's not much government.
Okay. Josh, is there something you'd like to add to that?
No, I mean, we are making patrols out here, and we do send guys, obviously, we have a whole county to patrol, so, we are kind of spread thin, but we do have guys coming out here. We've had, limited success against the dirt bikes. It's kind of hard to chase a dirt bike up a dirt trail when you're in a patrol car, so there's only so much we can do. We have been trying to identify a lot of those people so we can take action on them in the future through photographs and stuff when we do make enforcement contacts.
Is there any kind of educational program you're involved with that will let these people know are running the dirt bikes, the devastation they're causing the lake and creating cyanobacterial problems all the time because of the dirt bikes?
I'm not aware of a program to address that through us, but I can look into that.
I'm the town council at Mammoth Lakes. It's interesting that they call this the lucerne. There's nothing like the real lucerne, especially that. There's snow. You can't possibly do these gouges and they're drained up your road. And it's really interesting because I never see the motorcycles going up. At the same time, they're not illegal roads because you would obviously see the pot at the top. But it is degrading our roads. And I don't know who's getting the wherewithal to be allowed to up these slopes. But it is purely recreational, and maybe we should find a place where they can do that and also put a retainer on that land so they can't just indiscriminately. It's like clip cutting. It's like all these vineyards that are going in, excuse my language. But it's destructive of the land totally. And a lot of the times up in the snowland, those side roads are used for kids. So that way they can without being on the quote legal road. I don't really see that much happening here, but this degradation with these scorings is happening. These mountains is really bad for our lake.
The problem is obviously enforcement. Everybody would like to do something about it. It's just there aren't enough people in the county to keep track of it all. But when we encounter people up there, should we take a cell phone picture? Should we know where they live? How do we actually help you to enforce the problem? Because it comes down to it, he said, she said. I called somebody on blowing dirt in our faces when we got out of our car. Just, trying to show off gentlemen. I'm like, dude, really? But what do? They don't have license plates on those vehicles. If I take a picture of him, I'm liable to get myself beat up.
Right, we wouldn't want you to put yourself in any danger like that. If you know who they are and where they live, you can inform us of that. We have a traffic complaint process. If you call our office, fill out a traffic complaint, and then we'll assign an officer. They'll come out there, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go contact the individual if you've identified them and warn them. In that case, that's a lot of what we can do. But when we see them, we try and stop them. But like I said, it's a hard battle.
So you would be the best ones to direct that to, would be BRT, CDF.
What's that, sir?
Off-road. Who would be the best ones to approach that?
Well, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is a lot of that property back there is private property, so it's really up to the property owner to manage that. What we have an issue with is them riding the off-road bikes to that area.
On the street.
Correct.
My concern is that they're riding down there, and, if the motorcycles backfire, they cause a whole fire, and the whole Mendocino, we live in Oakview, and the whole Mendocino County, forest gets on fire. And that's going to put a major problem with, water and fire and, everything else. We don't have, we don't have water system right now to fight fires or anything like that.
And that's definitely true and definitely a danger. And what we could possibly do in the future, obviously you guys have seen us, we don't have any off-road motorcycles to go chase these guys off on the trails. My understanding is the Sheriff's Department does have some equipment like that. Fishing Game obviously has some stuff like that, and I'm sure we could partner up with them and try and catch more of them in the future. Maybe do some kind of a sting out here to try and catch some of them.
Maybe you guys can just lecture them on the fire damage and they can destroy their plants. Yeah. Maybe they take it seriously then.
A lot of the people that do this are from out of town. People, whole truckloads of guys come in here on a Friday night and camp out in the mountains and ride the bike. So, yeah, well, and that's what I think the majority of them are. So it seems to me that if you don't have the equipment or, I mean, obviously you can't go chasing people around, but it seems to me that it's essential that a partnership with Fish and Game and the Sheriff's Department is the only thing that's going to make a difference.
I agree, that's something that
So
definitely
when
needs
can
to,
you do that?
I'm sorry, when can we do
When
that?
can you do that?
Well, in fact, I met with state parks this morning, so we're actually trying to forge better partnerships with.
You find most of the people in Lake County want to do the right thing, but some of them don't know what the right thing is. That's why I say, let them know some way,
Right.
like through the police department or some other venue, some kind of educational
I
program, let
agree.
them know how bad it can be and affect the lake.
As I was saying, I speak with Sheriff Martin regularly. We actually meet as a group, all the chiefs, once a month, and because we're trying to lend resources, because we all have limited resources and equipment, staffing, but this is definitely will be an area that we'll discuss and see how we can come together. And it's not just an enforcement issue. This is obviously trying to discourage and hopefully redirect something that can be recreational, but not an area that's destroying the environment and creating an issue for the residents. Yes, ma'am.
What about the Cow Mountain area? Why can't we direct the people that are destroying the land to the Cow Mountain area? That is a recreational area and it's a ORV. It's already a designated area
Because
for.
they have to have a green sticker to get into Cow Mountain or Stony Brook. And if they don't have a mount license plate and they don't have a green sticker, they're not going in either one of those places.
So it's a money problem.
Well, the truth is, if they're probably not registered.
Exactly.
You just, even to be off-road, you gotta be registered. So that's something, again, that we can work with our allied agencies here and kind of brainstorm this. It seems like we need to perhaps do some kind of flyers and as well as come out here and jointly enforce the laws that we have and discourage it here. Yes, sir.
Can I ask you an unrelated question, but one within your jurisdiction?
Sure.
Highway 20 from Highway 53 to 29 is a restricted section. It's not supposed to have any hazardous materials hauled through it. And yet that's probably one of the least enforced pieces we have going. There are tank trucks go through that are got hazardous placards on them. I realize that you guys are spread pretty thin. Can you get, some citizens from another district or something to help out?
Well, that's something that's obviously well within our jurisdiction. And we have a commercial officer that I like to say in very nice terms is very aggressive.
He could earn his pay every day.
And Kevin, he gets out here quite a bit. I didn't know that we had that many violations out here. So we'll, I can assure you, we'll be back to have a look at that.
Thank you.
Who was next? Go ahead, sir.
First thing I want to say is I really appreciate you officers coming in and making a few little comments on everything that's going on. But I think what our community is looking at is not so much like your opinions, okay? Because we realize you're in enforcement. You don't make the laws, you enforce the law, okay? What we're looking for is our supervisors to take a look at our community and see what we need to do about our water, our usage of the hills, all this kind of thing. And you know what? All you can do is say, hey, the law says you can do this, you can do that. And, we can't really argue with that. And I do really appreciate it. When I call the sheriff, he comes and says, what's the problem? And I tell him, and then he has to figure out, okay, was our law broken? Well, Jim, let's continue on with why we all came here tonight.
Okay, I appreciate that. Right over here, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that a lot of people probably aren't aware, you only have to go to Upper Lake and head towards Lake Pillsbury and walk your off-road.
Yeah, there are places to ride that are legal. There's really no reason why they shouldn't be up here.
Okay, also, I was curious about the
Jim.
jurisdiction. What can the county actually do? I mean, are any of those dirt roads county roads, or are there so much private land that you can't?
Okay, with that, let me speak to that next, as soon as these gentlemen are down, and I'll talk about the paper subdivision changes. And then back over here.
I would just like to thank you officers for hearing, because I don't really think it's your enforcement within your jurisdiction. I live on Lakeview Terrace, and just a few lots away from me, it's kind of motocross every day. And what happens is, I think the responsibility is really the property owners. And if the property owners cannot get any satisfaction by posting their land, by putting fences up, and of course this happens because they're absentee owners. And so what happens is that when the kids and young adults race up and down, there is nobody to call them to account. And so some neighbor 3 or 4 lots away complains, and I think the proper people to call would be the county sheriff's office, not the highway patrol. And the person who calls really has no right, because they don't own the property. And as far as they know, the property owner has given these motorcyclists the right to be on the property. And so I think it basically starts with absentee landowners, and they're going to have to step up. And the only way we can do that is to email them, letters, and ask them to take charge of the property.
Thank you. That lady in the back?
Yes. I'm a grandmother, and I live in Lucerne, and I take my grandkids to the park all the time. I cross Highway 20 in order to do that. Now, when I'm crossing Highway 20, I'm always in a crosswalk. I always wait until I know the vehicles can see me before we step out. I have literally had people pass me in front and in back at the same time as I'm crossing through a crosswalk. Now, is there any way the Highway Patrol can, once a month, just post a car there and get these people? I mean, this is so dangerous. We have so many elderly people here that cross the road very slowly. Well, I mean, you're supposed to wait until they get on the curb before you go through that crosswalk. What can be done?
Ma'am, obviously, all these concerns are very important to us, even the ones that don't lie within our jurisdiction. But there are things that, like I said, we bring up at our monthly chiefs meeting, and those that are specifically related to traffic are definitely our concern, especially as they relate to public roadways. So I encourage you at any time to please call, ask for me if you like, and I can tell you what resources we have available at that time. But we can definitely come together, work with the supervisor, and come up with strategies that discourage some of the off-road stuff. I'm hoping that if we get out here and do some aggressive enforcement, possibly impound some motorcycles, that will begin to discourage, and the word kind of travels. That we can possibly do something like that. There's obviously a lot of things that some of the things that I'm hearing from you, believe it or not, do go on in other parts of the county. That we take all of it serious, because we all want to, something that we speak about in our offices. We're always asking how we contribute to the quality of your life, and all of our folks. We all live here, and so we do want to make it better. We want to work with our elected officials and see how we can support them. We are like you said, so we are an enforcement arm. We are not a legislative arm, but
I don't like it, but you got to do it.
But we do want to do whatever we can. So the concerns that you brought up, we will discuss at work, and I'll be reporting back to the supervisor here shortly on what we can do to at least begin to mitigate some of these problems.
Let's give these guys a hand. All right, they heard you, and that's very important. Now, it's not as though that's all we're going to do. There have been grants. I got a sound man. You guys have a sound man, right? We have grants that have come in from the standpoint of informational,
and we're going to be pulling that together. Those are off-road vehicle grants from the Green Sticker Fund, so that we can get that out to these people. Hey, if you're going to be in Lake County, behave, and also some signage out there, no off-road stuff. But here's the problem, and this is the thing that really caused us the problem to put us where we are today. 90 years ago, the county made a decision to carve up 10,000 subdivisions or lots throughout the hills. And they've been sitting there and being sold to people in the Bay Area like playing cards. And they could never develop them because the Subdivision Act came along and required them to have the facilities, the sewage and the water treatment and all of that in place before they could develop the lots. So they could never really do anything on their lots unless it was totally self-contained. Not many people could afford that kind of business. But 10,000 of them around the county, not very many of them did anything other than get traded to their neighbor. Some people own several lots and feel like the land baron, right? A lot of the off-road vehicle people realize that you have access because there are roads so that folks can get up and look at their lot, and then it could be sold, right? And so those roads were put in originally. So they felt that if you buy a lot, you could then visit your lot and have a right to drive all over the hills and say that you're an owner. And so that's what we're combating. A couple of, about a month ago, a couple of meetings ago, there was a subdivision, I forgot, I just had a brain change here. And there was a subdivision or paper sub-act that went through, and a new ordinance that was developed. Chuck Harris, Chuck and Holly, Holly Harris and Chuck Lamb were two of the people that worked with the county and actually went up there and mapped all of those places up in the hills so that the county would have something to respond to. There was ordinances put in place, policies put in place so that if anybody was behind in their taxes on these lots, because a lot of folks would get very behind on their taxes and they'd kind of give up, they would then have a chance, we would have a chance to deal straight with them and say, look, why don't you give us your lot for the taxes so we can retire them. As we retire lots, then we'll put them out of commission. As we can take lots in groups and take the roads out, we'll put fences up, we'll put signs up, that sort of thing. And so going forward, we have a brighter future for getting rid of that access and making it more of a public area. The trails, the Kanakai Regional Trails effort, also the same two people were involved in that. A matter of making trails up here so that folks would come here and places to hike. So all of that is kind of on the table, and that's coming, to us for the future. So I see it's much brighter than it has been in the past. That's why I wanted the Highway Patrol to realize that it's important to us and for them to go ahead and do what they need to do to educate these folks, because that's their area of expertise. The sheriff is doing what they can. They've lost a lot of staff, and they were able to get a grant for the bikes, the motorcycles, off-road vehicles to chase these kids, and they've never been able to train up the staff to go do it, simply because they've had too much turnover. So I just want to let you guys in on the left. Yes, sir, right here.
Yes, the National Forest is somewhere up there. Can't the federal government get involved in these two-wheelers who are carrying out the homicide?
Yeah, can the federal government get involved? Yes, the U.S. Forest Service does have a policy. They can ride up there. These are kids that are breaking the law, basically. And they get a bike, and there's no oversight from whoever it is supposed to do that, their parents, whatever. And they come up here to ride around, and they believe that this is free country. That's got to change, so that's what we're going to do, is try to get that.
Why can't they put a no trespassing in that area so people can't go in there?
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of changes like that, no trespassing signs, that sort of thing, but we have to get the owner's cooperation. Okay, so just to try to keep it moving, I know this gentleman wants us to keep moving here and get to the water issue. One of the things I wanted to tell you about, and that's what I want to get to next, I wanted to let us know, excuse me, I hope I don't lose my voice. I wanted to just make mention of this, that there's a lot of trash that folks who are not diligent about taking care of, putting their trash out to be picked up, haul it to the dump. They will go and dump it into our streams, they'll dump it into the backcountry. And this has been going on some time. What I really would like to see here for our District 3 is an adopt a district approach. Much like Clear Lake has done, I went over and helped those folks in their cleanup program, and they came over to our side and helped us with our little cleanup program. I really like their style. They've got a lot of ideas. If back on that table we have an Adopt a District book, if you'll sign up, we'll certainly get you involved. What we'll do is we'll map where these things are. You call in, I'll keep a list. One of the lists I'll keep is for the prisoner group that's a work detail. I've already got a detail. They came out and helped clean up Stubbs Road and Clear Lake Oaks, where it was huge material and a lot of it accumulated over the years. They went down, hauled it all up to the road. We were able to get a contractor to come down and pick it up. Been there for years, now it's clean. We got to keep doing that. We got to leave signs out there. One of the things they do over in the city of Clear Lake I really like is that they got a grant, and they put the signs out that says, if you don't have fees for the dump, let's talk. Call this number. And you call the number and they say, we'll give you the money if you take it to the dump. Just show us the receipt and we'll give you the money for it. And they actually then drive by and look to see that they took it and bring it back and they get paid. Anything to get them to change their habits. And so we're going to try to adopt some of this stuff. If you folks would sign up, I'd really appreciate it. I can't do anything by myself, so I need some help. We got a question back here, yes?
Yeah, why can't the county once a month at the dump, like at the last weekend of the month, just offer a free dump day? That's when people move. That's when people haul their trash up to when they can't take it to the dump. They're moving. Why not offer a free dump day?
Yeah, free dump days are great. The question is, why can't the county do that so folks who are moving will haul it out there? What they found was, and there are some changes coming, but what they found in past free dump days is people didn't wait for the free dump day. They just dumped whenever they were moving. That was one thing. And a lot of people started storing material all year. And actually, state law doesn't allow you to do that. You can only store it, I think it's 2 days. I might be wrong with that, but if you were to put it out and in your yard or something and build up your black bags, 2 days, I think after that they can actually fine you. It's against state law to do that because of the vermin and everything else. So I don't think that was so successful, but they are looking at programs. Yes, sir?
Jim, I want to give you a big attaboy. I called our new supervisor shortly after he was elected. We have what we would call the alternate county dump up close to us. And I talked to Jim about it. Not only did he come out, he got people to come out. They hauled away an abandoned caravan. They pulled a boat up that had been down the bank for over a year. And he made all this stuff happen within a month of having been elected. So thank you, sir.
Remaining public input sessions, please appoint that lady to keep track of the people who have their hands up so that you can get them in some sort of order. Thank
I'd be happy to do it.
You know, I've tried appointing her to do things for 25 years.
How's that working for you?
I'll tell you how it works for me. I've got this list of honeydews that I try to keep up. Who's next?
Seriously, I'll help with that. Because people are raising their hands repeatedly and they're not getting a chance to
Okay,
speak.
tell me who's
If you
next.
don't mind, if I come around, I'm happy to do that.
Yes.
All right, go ahead and do that. I know that right over here is this lady who's next. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, when they have the hazardous material dumps, why they cannot make at least once a year or once every 6 months where you can dump needles. My daddy was a diabetic, and he passed away 4 years ago, and I've got boxes of used syringes I can't get rid of.
Take them to
Nobody
tribal
will take
health.
them. Huh?
Take them to tribal health.
Really?
Yeah, they have a sharps disposal.
I've been asking it
Take them to tribal health, folks.
Thank you.
And if you have a big project, call the time bank.
All right, back over here in the corner.
Hi, my name is Nicole Cook. I'm with CCPC, Citizens Protection for Clear Lake. We do the trash removal, so airport. My question is, I'm cleaning the streets and the trash I'm accumulating. Is there any way I can get a waiver to take that to the dumps? So they're taking them out of our grant money?
I couldn't quite hear.
We have a grant for $10,000 for less than $10,000 to clean up Clear Lake, Citizens Care Clear Lake. And my question is, when I'm cleaning up on the streets of South Cruz, I'm cleaning up and down Boyle, the avenues, can I get a waiver to take that stuff to the dump?
Okay, very good question. This has to do with volunteer. Please sign up so we can be organized to do this. If someone wants to go out and do this kind of work, you're kind of on your own. If you sign up with the county beforehand and sign the waivers, then we can apply some money to help out. Otherwise, the county's a liability issue here. So I kind of figured that one out. So we're going to have the cleanup days, so it'll be a little more organized. You sign the thing saying, I'm out there trying to help, that's all I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to scam the government. And so when you sign that thing, then what we do is we get by going through the proper channels, we find a fund to transfer some dollars over and get a dump fee waiver. And I was able to get all of the dump that Mike was talking about for free for those folks. I think we had 4 tons of trash. It was an amazing amount that we took to the dump. And it had been there for years. And not only that, people aren't too smart when they dump. I found out a lot of work. I went and talked to them, and we're trying to get some help. Back over here, yes?
Is it also illegal for them to pile up their garbage, say, in the back of pickup trucks?
Yes.
In their yard?
Yes. Anything over 2 days is illegal. It may be 3 days. Don't quote me on the days. But you can't store it. And right here.
I read the plan for the trails, and it was broken up into 3 phases. There was a big mention of a management plan in phase 1. I was wondering what kind of details might be in that.
The management plan? There are some details, but most of them are targets of opportunity details. We really have to let it come to us. We can't, this is private lands. You got to be very respectful, and you got to try to encourage people to start turning them in until it's not useful for them to have anymore and you're trying to dump it off on the county. Then it's up to us, the county, to turn it into something useful for the citizens so they can get up there. You ought to see the view shed. It's amazing up along this ridge. We turned this into a destination for people from the outside. Come here. Lucerne is the jumping off place for one of the most beautiful trails systems in the entire county. Be sure and stop there. I mean, we have possibilities. And we actually have economic committees that we've formed. We've had meetings. The last 2 weeks I've kind of dropped out of everything. I've got to get back in there and find out where everybody is. But things are coming. We're going to make some changes. And I just see we're going to ride the uptick of the economy. And of course, I want to get to the uptick of our economy here after, right over here. Someone had their hand up. Right there, yeah.
I've got a quick question for you, once again, about the trails up here on the hillside.
Yes.
You're talking about the lake, you're talking about the water, and there's a big part of this thing that has to do with concerned water.
Right.
I'm not from here, I'm from Chicago, we've got huge water problems up there. But you're talking about degradation of the lake because of the trail systems and all the stuff. How come this isn't an EPA issue? How come the government is not involved beyond the county? If we're having an issue, it takes a lot to process that water, to put it back into people's taps. So I'm wondering, I mean, I know we have a private issue up here, private ownership. What's going on? How come it doesn't go farther and even into the government? We're destroying the lake over this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is a good point. Why isn't the rest of the government helping us? That was my point earlier about the Resource Managers Committee. We're going to get them interested, explain the problem. A lot of people don't know. When you're in these agencies, you're pretty much in your own world. We got to bring them to our world and make it part of theirs. So there will be a big effort. I guarantee you, over the next year, there will be a big effort, because otherwise, if I don't get something going during this year, I won't be able to finish it during the time of the 4 years, and that's why I went after this election. And I'm not going to spend that kind of money to sit here and try not to get something done. So that's why I'm here. We're going to get something done. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Lucerne water. Everybody ready for that? Oh, one more question right here, sir.
I've been coming up here for many, many years. I've got family and friends up here on the side of the lake, anywhere from the hills to the upper lake. And so I got the house up there, bought it up a few years ago, moved from Tiger Valley months ago, moved there. So I had a question about battery and cardboard pickup with the garbage company. called the garbage company where I used to live, and said the batteries, DCW, on the garbage can, and plastic bag, rather than get out, put it down in the truck and take it back to the dump site. Well, here they tell me, oh, you got to bring it to the transfer station, bring recycle your batteries, and then you bring the hardware like this. So I'm saying, how many people do you think in this county actually save their batteries and bring them to the landfill when they have to be in the town? Not many. I mean, I've got to admit, I'm not going to say one member. I mean, cardboard, how do you get a lot of cardboard? You make all that cardboard in your recycling bin with everything else. You can't. So now where you stay stacking, you eventually can, and they pick them up, put them on a truck for you. So those are environmental things, that can help those people go get stuff picked up from the house. Those are things that you have to negotiate in the contract line or can be put in place now.
All right, thank you for that input. How come we don't have a special place to dump the batteries during the pickup? That's part of the contract. I made a note. I will bring that up. We'll see if we can't get that one solved. If you take it over to, if you were to get rid of your batteries like I do, I take it into recycling at the landfill. There's a place there to set them. But we should have a way so that they can put on the truck and ride. I'll see what I can do about that. Yeah. So,
We also was talking about
Cardboard, we have to put it next to your can.
ought to be able to get the cardboard recycled, right? And there is a way to do that, sure. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's close to that. It was in Alan Robinson and Korea down there. We got the figures out there in the back. You take your cans, your conservation, and all that stuff down there.
Whoa.
My cans down there, they have, I noticed they got all kinds of stuff that they put on there.
So Robinson Rancheria has a transfer station?
I guess I'll be up on the whole line. They got a big garage back there, and they're back at, the little lights go in, so clear to the back, and make a left right there. There's a big area back there, and there's all kinds of stuff.
Credit where credit's due, and I have to say this because I've noticed, I've been in California, 7 generations, depending on how you count, 5 or 7. Native Americans have been here for 300 or more, and they just have a sense about things. They're really down to earth, and this is a wonderful county with regard to its Native American tribes coming back and helping out and getting involved. I've been very pleased to work with them. And so, okay, we've got our neighborhood watch, Captain.
And I just wanted to make a comment. I heard a lot of input about the hills and about going up there and damaging the property up there. Well, there's a group of people in Lake County called Lake County Neighborhood Watch. We have 5 neighborhood watches in Lake County that are up and running. We just had a meeting over in Puerto Riviera with 1,700 people, and they want a neighborhood watch. We've been trying to get all you people that are in this room that are complaining about speeding, complaining about people up on the hills, complaining about your streets, to our meeting, and none of you will come.
I missed it, and I want to join.
Will you please come to our next meeting? When is it? It's on May 19th. May 19th. Right here. We have a potluck at 5:30, and we have a meeting at 6:30.
You're talking about the one that's right here, correct?
Yes. Yeah, right here. We have Brian here, and we have sometimes Jim Steele. He's been at almost all of our meetings that we have put together. We have neighborhood watch from the Oaks all the way up to the lake, and now we have it over in the Clearly Rivieras. It works. We had a lot of problems down in our Rivieras down there, and we've got it cleaned up. We do patrols in your neighborhood. This man right here, Don, he is your coordinator for the Lucerne area, and him and myself and 3 other guys actually go out at night, different times of the night, patrolling the streets, looking for criminals, and we find them, and we report them. But you guys need to come to our meeting on May 19th.
What time?
It's all up to 5:30.
5:30?
And the meeting's at 6:30.
At 6:30.
Right here.
Right here. Be here, be square, as they used to say. Boy, am I dating myself, right?
It's a Tuesday night.
Okay, that is one of the best things. This gentleman here has been the instrument for making about 5 neighborhood watches come together. You know, if you don't think you can't make a difference being one person, there's an example where one person can get involved and make a difference. So let's give them a hand. It's May.
May 19th, 6:30.
It's on, we're on Facebook, we have our own Facebook, we're on YouTube, we have it all on Facebook. Yeah, it is on Lake County.
Where are you on Facebook?
Lake County Neighborhood Watch.
Lake County Neighborhood Watch. It's the way that you can be involved and actually dictate your future and your protection for your local area.
And you have your neighborhood watch signs?
Oh, yes.
And you can get your neighborhood watch signs, you get on the list, you know who to call. So if you see something, someone's watching after you, you're watching after someone else. I would like to change the conversation to the water, mostly because I'm kind of failing up here. I may have to leave here pretty soon. So let's talk about water. You can't pick a better subject. Can you imagine any town in this country, in any town in the world, not having good water? It's just not going to be the kind of town you want to live in. You want good quality water, but you want enough water, and you want to be able to afford it. And so I've heard nothing but a lot of talk about this, and coming in, my focus, because of my background and years of experience in government with environmental issues, my focus was the lake. But you didn't elect me to do one thing. And this was your issue. So I've made your issue my issue. In a year from now, I hope to have everything in place so that we will be moving towards the right kind of ownership, the right kind of pricing for this area. So I have that plan in place. I've been working it. Here's some of the problems with talking about it. This is a private sector that operates in a different world. In the private sector world, they are competitive. It's a very animalistic kind of predator-prey relationship that they have with other people. They're on the stock market. It's part of their reputation. And that reputation is very important to them because if their stock prices are high, then there's a lot of equity for them to be able to go out and purchase other companies. That sort of thing. They have a plan of doing business. For them, their plan makes them good guys because the good guys stamp for them comes from the business world. If their stocks are trading well, they make a lot of money, they drive a nice car, and when you go to the stockholders meeting, everybody cheers them. They've done good work. So when you folks are concerned, it doesn't necessarily even reach to their level because they're listening a certain way. I realize that. I understand it. I've worked in that arena. When I was working for the state government, I had to interface between private companies around this entire state. We had to get all the private timber companies on private lands, there's about 30 million acres of land, to basically agree to change their rules and their practices because you could not have the number of rules that you would have had to have in order to get them to do the right things. Just couldn't have it. So we had to basically get them to agree to work with us in order to change the practices. And so there are techniques to do that. So I've been kind of schooled in one of the best places, I think, in the state, maybe the world, I don't know, with regard to working with these people. And I thought, all right, I'll just give this a shot because I'm a little out of practice here. When I left the state, I was a consultant for 12 years. And then I ran for this office. We moved up here after we finished the house. I built the house in '95. And so I lived out on the land a couple of years prior to that. I don't want anybody to hear that I was out on the land in the tent building my house. It was all legal. So in any case, with that said, I thought, well, why not just start talking to them? I'll find out who they are, and I'll talk to them the way that they talk, just to see if we can kind of reach across. Before we go to eminent domain and all of that sort of thing that everybody talks about. Well, first place, I found out they're people. I found out they're just like us. They just think differently. Quite a bit differently. It's easy to think differently when you're driving, those kind of cars, I guess. I don't know. and they live pretty much far away, and so their neighbors are different. Our neighbors are much different than theirs. When we talk about issues here, they're in a different kind of setting than when they talk about their issues there. So we had that conversation. I've had 2 face-to-face meetings with them. I've asked them to continue the conversation, and they did not say no. Now, the alternative to this kind of an approach is to go to eminent domain, where we force them to sell. In order to do that, do you realize how many people on the Board of Supervisors we would have to have agree to do that? Not 3 out of 5. You'd have to have 4 out of 5. That's the law. It is a tough bar. You think it was tough getting the sales tax initiative passed at 66 2/3. Just look at that group. They have their own thinking, and none of them live in Lucerne. So they're not going to have our pain. We feel our pain, we're here. So I didn't want to go that direction because it would have been easy for me. All I would have had to do was bring this to the board. They voted down. I said, well, I tried, guys. I mean, I'd have been done. So that's not where I come from. I looked at it. I studied everything that happened so far. And all they've done in 10 years is a rate case. They've had conversations that didn't go anywhere, but they did a rate case. And the other thing they did the disadvantaged community support bill. Someone can enlighten me if I missed one. But that's where you get your $50, and it's when you'll see it in there. It's $50 reduced. And right now, Assemblyman Dodd's office has got a bill in where he's working out a disadvantaged person. And this is basically aimed at people if you are below a certain poverty level, a certain disadvantage level, income level, then you can get an additional help. This will also work if we're a public entity. So the approach I took to talking to these folks is, number one, I did not say that they were bad people. I'll tell you what, they are really good people. I kind of like them, it's good talking to them. They're very intelligent, and they have their approach and their way of doing business. So I looked at the way that they were doing business. I said, if I were your company, I would look at your portfolio maybe from a little different standpoint. When I was in the business world, prior to starting to work for the state, we were very careful about the portfolio, especially when we traded publicly, because people analyze us, figure out who we have in our portfolio, see if we have strength. I'm not sure what strength you guys get out of working in Lake County, where we're the 58th out of 58th county in the state, and you happen to be in Lucerne, where it's a disadvantaged community, and in this particular district, we're the most disadvantaged community, 6 disadvantaged communities for the whole county. You couldn't pick a worse place to buy and expect a return, or to expect strength in your portfolio while you're trading on the stock market. Now, you guys, it's your business. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just thought I'd point that out. Apparently it has some resonation. So in any case, we're still having a conversation. I plan to continue that conversation. Recently, some of you folks showed up at the board. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I was in the hospital. And I wanted to be there when you went and got your 3 minutes and you explained the problem over here. Very, very important you keep this up. Let the board know. Have a spokesperson speak to the board each time, 1, 2, 3, 100, I don't care. But one I do care about. Make sure it's at least one. Rob Patton, where are you? Back there in the back. He was there. We've had a conversation, and I've given him the logic. Rob's a great leader, so talk to Rob. He can help you if you want to understand what we're trying to do. But the board needs to know this is important, because all of us as supervisors actually vote for the whole county when we vote. Nobody out there can do anything alone. In fact, I will tell you that I can't do anything without a vote. I have zero power. The only way I can get anything done is through personal interaction with the staff, or some kind of, because I know how to do something, I'll go try to get it done that way. The way you get something done as a supervisor is you get a program in front of the other supervisors, and you get at least 2 of the 3 saying, yeah, I agree with you. then we can go forward. And so in a couple of weeks, I'm getting too excited here. Lean's just wrong. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to bring an action item to the board, and I'm going to ask them to appoint a committee, because we really cannot talk and represent the county. I cannot actually do these things and represent the county. So I had to tell that company I'm not representing anybody but my own personal view. But what I want to be able to do is represent the county. And so I'm going to ask the county to appoint a committee of 3 or 4 people. I got them lined up so that we can have that conversation. Now what you'll have then is a public sector and a private sector conversation, and you'll be able to bridge some of the conversation and have some understandings without it becoming public, simply because it doesn't have to be under the Brown Act if it has less than the 3 supervisors in attendance. So 2 or less, and that's what has to be on the committee, 2 or less. Then we can have that conversation. By the time we have all of the conversations necessary, we'll know whether or not we can go forward with this. And when I have news, believe me, I will be as straight as I can with you, because that's the way I operate. And I'm being straight right now to tell you I can't be straight, because I've got to get this stuff done. I've got to be able to get to committee, and then we'll move forward from there. The goal is, and I went to see Flo, which represents you, that little group that got together. You guys all know about Flo, Friends of Locally Owned Water, modeled after the Santa Cruz situation down in Felton. I talked to the attorney in Felton before I came to Flo, or actually after I came to Flo. I found out who that was. I went down and talked to the attorney, and I told him what I was doing, so that I knew he'd keep it quiet. And he said, you are exactly on the right track. Because if you go after eminent domain, the price skyrockets because of the attorney fees, and they'll drag you out for 6 years easy. He says, so you got it right. The only reason that we were able to make our effort known was because we formed a local Mello-Roos district and taxed ourselves. They're in a better tax base down there. They taxed themselves so they could buy the company. All the Board of Supervisors had to do was say, yes, you can do that. So that board was in a different position to vote. This board will never be in that position. That's why we'll never get there. They would have to take too much risk, so this is really the way to handle it. And do it on a personal level, talking directly to the company, and make it clear to them this is not the best town for them to own, simply because of their own self-interest. So that's the approach I'm taking. I'm getting some very good response from them. And like I say, I'm impressed. They're very well. And one thing, I just happen to have one little advantage. In working as a consultant, I was working with a water district down in the Bay Area, and so I knew the board. And one of the board members said, oh, I know a guy that's one of the chief stockholders in that company. And so I told him what problem we had up here. He says, let me mention it to him. He never told me his name. Or at least I'd have to shoot myself if I ever hear it, right? So I can't divulge it. So he came back and he said, he told me, you go for it because the stockholders will be behind you if you can make this public somewhere down the road. So I think that we're on a good track, and I feel very good about it. If from a year from now I feel like I didn't get it done, I'll be here apologizing. We'll then go after some other plan. But I wanted we have the Dodd person here. Did they leave? They're still here. Huh?
I'm here from
McGuire, but no Dodd. Okay. That's one of the reasons. And you are who?
Carrie Lindecker, and I'm the field representative for Mendocino and Lake County for the center.
Well, let's give Terry a hand for showing up. One of the reasons that I wanted them to be here is because I wanted name recognition for the really fine representatives we have now at the state level of government. Amazing how much difference it made in just a short period of time. Senator McGuire and Assemblyman Dodd had just been amazing for the bank issue, for the lake issue. They were right there. I was over in the Capitol talking to them. What we want is what they want, and they just want to know how. And they appreciated the fact I was bringing some stuff to them on how they might operate. So I did want them here to hear this. Going down the road, if in fact we ever get to be a publicly owned water area, There are things we can do to lower the costs. I've been on the board of director of water districts, and I've been a consultant of water districts. There are things we can do, and it's at that state level where it's going to happen. So I'm going to ask them to be following us every step of the way and to make encouragement for the company to see it our way. And I actually have a plan for them to operate and look good. So going forward, never say anything bad about this water company. Only say good things. We know that they're trying to do the right thing, but they're not our water company. We'd like to have our own, but we know that they're the good company. Just saying. Because we don't want it in the press that they're terrible. We want it in the press. We don't want anything in the press with regard to them being bad. We want them to look good and just go off silently into the sunset. Yes, ma'am.
So the whole notion of filming people washing their clothes in the lake and all that sort of thing, we need to put that on the back boiler?
Yeah, I know you guys were all getting ready, and I was getting ready for us to really be negative and just go out there and say, you guys are terrible. But I will tell you, I've turned around after having talked to them. I think they want to be, I think they want to have you show respect. They want to have the business community look upon them as respect, as people who are respectful of their communities that they own, where the water companies are owned. I'm going to take that tack to the nth, all the way to the end, so that you guys are going to look so good.
I know that worked very well in Felton. My in-laws lived in Felton.
Oh, good.
And it did. It was the way to go with Felton Water. So I'm very encouraged. I really hope it does work.
Thank you very much. Back here.
May I read a brief statement? The way I do it, following the approach. Well, I'd like to point out that
Stand, sir, so that you can hear it.
water rates in Lucerne have been addressed many times at rate hearings, town hall meetings, and board of supervisor meetings. Our citizens have asked the board of supervisors to exercise eminent domain and take over the water company several times in the past. Each time the board members become glassy-eyed as they contemplate the amount of money the condemnation requires. First are the thousands of dollars that would be expended in legal fees. Then there would be debt service on the plant, followed by the expense of running the place. To ask the taxpayers of Lake County to finance such a project would seem neither economically nor politically viable at first glance. And let me emphasize the point, at first glance. There are ways to mitigate these costs. And as a footnote, facts I'm giving you now are not projections. They are actually the facts that were given to me by Cal Water Company when I called up 2 weeks ago. According to Cal Water, they take in $3 million per year from the 1,200 ratepayers in Lucerne. Of this, they are allowed 8% as profit, or $240,000 per year. So to think that they're going to give up this cash cow, I think, is really foolish. But to continue. So if the Board of Supervisors took over the water company in Lucerne, the $3 million would go to the county, including the profit of $240,000, which would be used to abate the charges in taking over the water service. Now, the ratepayers in Lucerne should not expect their rates to go down if the county takes over the system in the short term. In fact, they would expect them to go up, which will happen in a couple of years under Cal Water anyway. In other words, although it would be nice if the county could take over the system and lower rates, Lucerne ratepayers take the long view. We will pay these rates for the next several years if reduction in rates through debt reduction and inflation will come, and not to mention that if the Board of Supervisors formed a nonprofit company to administer the water, that nonprofit would be eligible for grants for federal and also for state assistance, which will bring in still more money to lower the debt. Let's face it, there will be zero chance of default of any monies that the county spends, since the community of Lucerne is not going anywhere. We need water, and will continue to need water forever. In conclusion, the financials involved in condemnation of Cal Water are not insurmountable. We need the Board of Supervisors to seriously consider this proposal.
especially since the ratepayers in Lucerne are not looking for a handout or to burden other communities in the county with our water problems. And so it could be a pay-as-you-go. We'd have to tolerate the higher rates for maybe 4 or 5 years, but then they would come down and we'd be paying the rates that other communities like these pay. Thank you.
That's actually a different plan. If that's what you want, I can certainly pursue it. You let me know. Over here.
A couple of weeks ago, we all saw probably Governor Brown on television in regards to the no snowpack and how everybody needs to cut back 25% on our water. Well, we as Lucerne water recipients, we get fined for not using enough water. So my question is, do you think it would be a help or a hindrance if we actually contacted Governor Brown straight on through email, phone calls, whatever, and say, hey, this is our situation? So I'm just putting it out there. Do you think it would help? Is it going to worsen your cause in trying to help us?
No, it won't hurt. In fact, can I be bluntly honest?
Yes.
It won't do anything. There's 5,000 cities, they're not going to listen. Lucerne doesn't make much of a splash, and we have to do things ourselves. I know that there's competing approaches. I really appreciate that. My expertise notwithstanding, I know that you folks are also expert in your areas, and I respect everybody's opinion on this. I am the person that's sitting in that chair, and I'm trying to do what I know instinctively to do. I can easily make this a short trip. I can just say, let's bring it to the board, and you'll hear things you probably don't want to hear. They just will do exactly what you just described. It's good to say, oh, we can do this, but in fact, unless you can take the same kind of approach that Fulton did, and start your own Belarus and develop your own district and develop your own water system, buy it out, then you're not going to get very far. What I'm trying to do is an approach where you don't have to do that. And I'm already looking at the funding. I'm looking at the future. I've got to get it all done at one time. There's 3 parts to this. In the first part, you have to have 2 people willing to deal with each other. Seller-buyer, or there's other ways to describe that where it isn't necessarily a seller-buyer. And you'll hear more about that as we go forward. The second part is the price, because they're going to want to say, we have a $100 million investment here, and we're going to want to say you have a $1 investment here, and somewhere in there is going to be some middle ground. And so there is a way to get to a more honest price point, and I'm trying to work that at the same time. The third part of it is, who's going to pay for it and how? And I'm also trying to work that one, because there are ways to get guaranteed funding so that the instrument is easy to transfer. For instance, a lot of the guarantee here is by the state of California. So our state representative is here. We'll talk more about that. There's a way for them to help us out, and I will have that conversation with them. So those 3 things have to happen, but they all have to happen at the same time. And this has to be a willing group, willing to come out smelling like a rose. And I want them to smell exactly like a rose, with the dollars in their pocket they deserve and nothing more, and us to have our own water owned by ourselves. There's 2 parts here that are absolutely, in my mind, unconscionable. One of them is the control is not local. They are somewhere else, and they won't listen to us because they're somewhere else. And that is the biggest part of it right there. And the second part is, you should really be involved in the water system that is basically part of your life. You should be involved. Clear Lake Oaks Wednesday just had a big water meeting. They're going to increase their water rates. And the reason that they have to do this is the same reason you're going to have increased water rates here. The water companies put these systems in place over 60 years ago. 60 years is way too long. You've got to rebuild these systems. One of the nice things that's already happened is that you've got a new plant. Unfortunately, it's not the best plan. If there were a board here and I were on the board, you wouldn't have had that plan. But it is a plan that will absolutely work for you in the future, and there's things that can happen there to actually help that out. You also need a distribution system. You've got a main line, I think, that's been replaced, but you got the rest of it that hasn't. That's going to be the biggest cost, is your distribution system. And so starting now and going in the future, if we were to start to slide into an ownership position, we would start working on grants, just like Clear Lake Oaks did when I was on the water district there. We started the capital improvement plan that stretched out into the future. They're now starting to activate that, and it really looks rosy. They're going to spend a few bucks. They have to go up $3, $4 in a rate. And what do you guys look at? You're looking at big rate increases, because that's the way that particular company operates. So the way they operate Cal Water is not bad for them. It's a good model, but they have to have a certain kind of town to operate that way. We're not that kind of town, and I will definitely bring that home to them. And I saw a hand way back there anymore. Rob.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that when I did go to the board to suggest that we should use eminent domain, take over the water system, that they basically completely ignored what we had to say. They put us off for an hour while they did a bunch of presentations, and they were obviously not in the least bit interested in what we had to say. They already think they know all that there is to know about it, and they don't plan to do anything about it. They all started reading their papers and their emails and whatnot. So we didn't get any kind of reception from them at all. There weren't very many people there either. We're going to continue to ask them for public ownership of the water company, because that's really our only option. We got to have. I'm not trying to tell anybody how that has to happen, and I'm not trying to interfere with what you're doing. But we're going to continue to ask them for that. We need more people from this group here that's concerned about it to show up at the supervisors' meetings when we go there to make these proposals. I'm planning to go back on the second Tuesday of May and talk to them again, have a prepared speech that, 3 minutes isn't very long to talk, so.
Now thanks, Rob. And that's 3 minutes per person.
Right.
6 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes. It's
three other people speak.
3 other people.
This time.
This is your time to access your government. And in fact, when I took office, I saw myself in a position where I was government access for you. And a huge amount of my time is phone calls, individuals, and government access. They want to know how to do something, how to hook up, how to get something done, and I do a lot of that. The second part is the intractable problems, Lucerne Water, the economy, trying to get safety in Caltrans, trying to get some of these projects along the I-20 corridor done. Those are the intractable problems. I'm trying to get those moving. The third part of your plan when you're in office is the focus. You want this county going in a good direction. You don't want someone to waver off like they did and we got to where we are now. Holy cow, they did some bonehead moves here in the past, because the science for understanding how to operate around a natural lake lagged about 40 years behind the management style. And it's just now catching up. Some of the best science was basically laid out for this lake in 1994. It's beautiful work. And I said, what are you guys waiting for? They've got one thing they want to do they think will fix this lake, and that's the Middle Creek project, and they only have a plan to make it work. So you can see on that side of the coin, I've got a lot of work to do. I've got to get the thinking in place. There's just no depth. I mean, we don't have the staffs that we did in the state level. So you got one person just scrambling around is what you have. So that's why I'm trying to bring in these other agencies, get their expertise, help us do some of the monitoring, other things that we have to get done, and then to put in for the grants, and so that when we're moving forward, the economy that wraps around the lake will start to move with it, because this lake can be fixed. It not only can be fixed, it's fairly straightforward. It really is. And if anybody wants to see my 4-hour slideshow, my wife's seen it too many times. She says she doesn't want to see it again. But it does work in a certain way, and this was all divulged back in 1994. And I had at one time I had 500 articles that basically supported the science, and I went and found every single one that I could find and read it in order to understand where they were coming from, and it was very good science that they did in 94. So I think this lake is understood well enough for us to fix it, and now we're going to try to bring this stuff forward for future management. Back here?
Yes, is there people that we can contact, shareholders of Cal Water or something that we can help contact to facilitate your plan? I mean, you know, explain our situation to them, make the shareholders aware of our situation here in the center?
Anything you do in that direction, I'll be very grateful. It will help me. I'm not sure you're going to find out who they are, because when you buy shares, it isn't necessarily on the chalkboard anywhere. But the big owners, they're known. Yeah, you can find out. And let them know that we'd love to we love your company, but not here. We can't afford it. Be respectful. Always be respectful. This is really going to sink me if people are not respectful. We need them to think that they're doing the right thing and to craft their own message so they'll look good inside their industry. If we can let them look good, they won't be a bully anymore. I almost guarantee this, if we can pull this off right, we'll have the best chance. I can't guarantee we'll get that chance, but we'll have the best chance. John.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for putting the meeting together. Appreciate all the efforts you've been doing since you've been elected, and congratulations. And I also want to make it public that anytime you need help, I'm still available. Having said that, I have a question regarding if you know any information or do you have any understanding as to are there any consulting agencies or anybody working with Cal Water besides yourself?
Doing what?
Consulting. I was outside talking to the officers, but are we talking about the Cal Water situation and what procedural tactics we are going to be taking, or you're going to be taking on our behalf?
Well, I'm trying to talk as little about it as I can and still say we're moving forward, because if I say too much, I can spoil this one, because I really want those guys to not be threatened by us. I want them to feel comfortable around the county, and I want them to feel comfortable with what we're telling them. They did their own homework. They checked you guys out. They know they're not in a good position. And so now it's a matter of moving forward and making sure the right message is there. And I've already got a plan. I've written it out for county council. One of the ways that I do this, and I know that there's someone from Cal Water here tonight, one of the ways I do this is that I let the people talk at the level that they need to be talking. If it's an engineer, I get an engineer to talk to them. If it's an attorney, I get the attorney to talk to them. If it's someone with regard to policy, then I'll talk to them. The first talks were policy, and they heard me. I won't talk to them again. I will wait until this thing starts to move forward. And when you see it come in front of the board, be there in support. Rob and the Flow people will let you know, and you come support us and say that you want that team. Get up there and say, we need this particular team to have that conversation. Please go forward, do good work for us. The team won't be saying too much to you directly, because they'll be talking on a confidential level. Here's something you need to know about private companies, private sector companies, as opposed to public sector companies. In public sector company, everything is open, transparent. It's supposed to be. I guess the federal government get away with it, but Brown Act rules apply. Very transparent. I don't even talk to the board members. I can get to talk to one about this, and that's all under the Brown Act. And so I have to be very careful about how we go forward with this. But private sector, completely different deal. We actually have to sign off on agreements about what we can talk about, what we can divulge, and what we can't. And this is ordinary. It's nothing extraordinary at all. When I was working with timber companies up north, I signed these agreements all the time. I heard their innermost secrets. The only thing that I divulged in the open was the public's business, not their business. It works.
I do that. Let me just make sure I understand. One,
John, back here.
One, there are no consulting agencies right now that are working with Caltrans that you know of. And then the second question was brought to my attention this morning before I came here. An individual owns rental property in Lucerne says that if his tenants don't pay the Cal water bill, that the next tenant that moves in can't get water. And that the owner of the property who rented it out is responsible for paying that tenant's water bill. Do you know, have you heard of anything like that before?
No, and actually you'd have to direct those questions to Cal Water. And I'm not talking to this local company anyway. I'm talking to the holding company. And they have 1 million hookups around the state, around the country. Those are the folks I'm talking to, because they really can't do anything local. These are the folks that run it, and you're not going to get much out of them. So and like I say, I'm always impressed when I talk to these folks that rise to these high levels, because they do it because they're very intelligent, and they can figure these things out. It didn't take 2 seconds for them to dawn on them just who we were and what kind of position that they could be in. If we turn ugly, I know how to be ugly. And we could have done that. So let's not do it. Let's do the other thing and see if we get somewhere else. Okay, who's first?
Right here first, then you could choose.
Okay, over there, yes.
Then here,
Okay, point to the one that's next, please.
over there.
Okay.
The woman in the blue.
Oh, woman in blue, that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I called the Cal Water a couple weeks ago because I pulled my lawn out. And I'm not going to get watering, but they're not getting any compensation or credit for us saving water. I mean, why not?
I don't know.
I mean, they said, oh, we might have something in the works, which means to me, no, we're not getting any compensation.
There are plans to retire plants and lawns and that sort of thing. There are cities that reward that in their state plans, but not for private companies. That's one of the problems that you have. Public companies can do things that private companies can't do. If it's all right with you, I'm kind of at the end of my rope for tonight, and I hope you're with me on this. And if you're not, let me know. I'll make a note of it, and then going forward, I'll obviously be mea culpa if I can't make this thing work. But anyway, thank you.